welcome to the latest episode of the Lisa Pezik Show. Lisa Pezik here, and today I want to talk to you about the journey of a writer. What it takes to go from having that idea to putting those words on paper to actually putting it out, whether it's a post, an email, an ebook, an actual book, a play, a song, whatever it is that you're creating that you want to literally give birth to. And the writing process, let me tell you, it's a lot like giving birth, whether you're writing your first book or your 10th book. I think that's a misconception that we think that, New York Times bestselling authors and decorated authors and writers and screenplay writers and, any bloggers that blog every day. I think we think sometimes that it's easy. And then when we actually sit our butt in the seat and stare at that blank page in front of us, we wonder, why does it suck so bad? And what's wrong with me? And why can't these words flow out of me? And I'll tell you that no matter where you are at any stage in the game, it is an ebb and flow when it comes to the creative process. And I say giving birth because that's, if moms, if you're listening, or ladies, or gents, if you've had a wife or a family member that you've seen through their pregnancy, you know that it ebbs and flows, right? The beginning is so exciting, and then if there's some symptoms involved, that can be kind of mucky. I was blessed that I had an amazing pregnancy up until, week 32, 33. I didn't have any symptoms. I wasn't nauseous. I didn't have heartburn. I wasn't sick. I wasn't dizzy. I wasn't dehydrated. I didn't even have any swelling of, my ankles. I had the normal, kind of facial swelling. And of course my belly was growing. But any kind of uncomfortable symptoms, I didn't have really till the end, and I got bigger. And then it just is so difficult to turn in bed. Just movement is a little bit restricted, towards the very end, as if you've been pregnant. I didn't really get crazy short of breath, but I had a breech baby, and some of you maybe have heard this story before, but the options when you are breech are none, really. They say, when do you want your C-section? And if you don't want that, you have to put up one hell of a fight to get what you want. But obviously when your baby matters to you, like ours did, we put up one hell of a fight. And so much so that we're living here outside Toronto, Ontario. And we found ourselves in Ottawa. Well, I shouldn't say we found ourselves. We made the conscious choice to go to Ottawa, Ontario, which is 6 hours away, because we found a midwife that delivered at home, breech babies, no matter what presentation. She worked in Guatemala, and literally where the women let their bodies do what they knew how to do, walked behind a tree, gave birth, and walked home. Now, again, I'm talking about third world countries and where they do it, but I think we muck it all up here in North America, where we try to intervene and we try to control. And I was really hoping she was going to be able to help us deliver, but I happened to go past 42 weeks. And after then, by law, they have to turn it over to an OB. And there was a lot of fear, right? The longer that I waited, the more harm was going to happen, which none of that was true. A lot of fear and control. And I realized that our bodies know how to give birth. I hope we're going to try to do this a second time around, hopefully, is the plan. And I'm going to be a lot more trusting and forgiving and listen less to the people that are trying to impart their thoughts and fears and worries on top of me. I ended up having our baby by a C-section, which was kind of a bummer because I wanted that, home birth, no intervention. But I guess when you have a double footling breech, meaning 2 feet, he was completely upside down, 2 feet coming out first, As you know, they're supposed to come out head first. That put a wrench in the plans. But our bodies know what to do. Our bodies know how to give birth. It's the same with the writing process. We are creative humans by nature. I have a 6-year-old. He doesn't ask me what color to use and how to draw things and what he should do next. He gets the markers and the pencils and the crayons and he creates whatever it is he wants. And he doesn't judge it. He never comes to me and goes, "Hey mom, do you see this picture? This really sucks, doesn't it?" No, he creates and he's in his joy, and that's it. And that's the way you have to start thinking about when you write, when you create. Brene Brown calls it the shitty first draft. And I love that. Forgive me if there's little ones and you needed some earmuffs there. But the SFD, I'll call it the CFD if you've got little ones around, the crappy first draft. That's totally what happens, right? Even first time around giving birth, right? I had so many questions and so many thoughts, and I was so worried if I made the wrong decision that it was going to mess up our kid's life forever, and all those first time parent worries that you have. And then when you go through it, you realize it's really not that big a deal. So allow yourself that crappy first draft. Allow yourself that ability just to start a word, a line. A line turns into a paragraph turns into a page turns into several pages, which turn into a chapter if you're writing a book, or that next play, that next scene, right? Start. One of the biggest mistakes that we make is that we don't start because we think we have to be perfect right out of the get-go. You could write and just pour out on the page, and maybe you write 10 pages and you only keep one. That is amazing. Which leads me to the next point, that just like birth, writing is usually emotional when we start. So we've got these feelings and these thoughts and these things on our heart that we have to get out. And sometimes those are personal stories. And sometimes they're stories of people in our life who've hurt us, or hardships we've been through, or bad decisions that we've made. And it can get really emotional. And I think that's okay in the beginning, because that's not what you publish. That's not what gets put out. I am blessed to have 3 books. Break the Mold, Becoming Fit, Fierce, and Fearless in the Life You Deserve was my first one. The Beauty of Authenticity, which became a bestseller, Amazon bestseller. It was a collaboration. And Women Who Illuminate, which became a international Amazon bestseller. And that was another collaboration. And I'll tell you, by the 3rd book, the writing process did become easier, not to actually put the pen on paper, but I wasn't as emotionally charged with the words and the stories that I was telling. Break the Mold was so emotional, and that's okay, because that's where I was at. And I worked with a editor who helped me write it the right way and say it the right way and not be victim-y and come from a place of power and truth. And you don't get there, though, unless you let the emotions run through you, right? The hardest part of writing, as I said, is the beginning, that crappy first draft, letting those emotions pour out. You might write, and he was a freaking dick. You're not going to publish it that way, but that's the way you feel it. And at least you can wrap your head around it. You can see the words, and then we have a frame of context and reference that we can unpack that and expand on that and find the best way to say it. Because step 3 is then your rational brain comes in and you go, okay, what am I really trying to say here? What really is the point I'm trying to get across? Is there some teaching weaved in this? And the problem, though, with your rational brain is that if you spend too much time rational and not enough time emotional, it doesn't land and it doesn't connect. Because sometimes our rational brain gets stuck in, I want to say it right, I want to say it correct. And right and correct, following all the rules and regulations, does not move people. So you got to go through this journey. Crappy first draft, the emotions, then you're rational. What am I really trying to say? Then your real voice comes out. And I find it's with version 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 that we start really getting to the goods. Or sometimes it's just a proficiency thing if we're talking about blog posts, right? My blog post 3 years in, I can get through this crappy first draft, emotional, rational, what the heck am I really trying to say? I can get through that so much faster now because I've done it. I blog weekly. I've been blogging weekly for 3 years. I've been podcasting almost weekly for 3 years, right? Sometimes proficiency gets us through this quicker, but it doesn't mean that we don't still go through some of these emotions. And back to birth, I'm sure if you talk to women who've had 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 babies, right? Or 2 or 3, the second and third and fourth is so different than the first because you've been through it. The body remembers, the brain remembers, like riding a bike. It's the same way here. And know that you don't have to do this alone. That's why there's editors. That's why you pay. This is something that I remember Roger Love. I was at World's Greatest Speaker Training with Bo Eason, Brendan Burchard, and Roger Love. And he was talking about Elton John and the gentleman that writes Elton John's songs. He writes him pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. And then he gives it to Elton John and he'd say, pick what you want, right? Take out what you don't like and put together what you want and we'll make it a song. And Roger Love said, you can't be a creator and an editor at the same time. You can't be a creator and editor at the same time. Unless it is your job to be an editor, your job is to create. You give that to someone else to edit. But here's what I learned as well from the first to the second to the third book. Do not let them change your voice. You need to be very clear about your mission, your message, what you're trying to get across. I remember when I was talking about something with health in my very first book, and the editor said, why don't we just tell them to follow the Canada's food guide? You're getting a little bit too wordy here about, how you're guiding people. And we had been through 57 million revisions. And it was one of these little things that I was like, oh, it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't even care about the Canada Food Guide. And that's not at all, this book is about mindset. And yes, health is a piece of it. But there's just so many other deeper messages about alignment and finding your path and overcoming trauma. And there's just so much stuff in here that I don't even care about that. And then when I actually read the book and it came out, I was like, no, I would never tell someone just follow the food guide. I would never be so superficial with someone about the advice that I give. And I know that sounds so silly and that's such a little example, but the little things really are the big things, meaning that don't settle. Don't settle because you don't want to rock the boat. That was what happened to me. Was I didn't want to keep rocking the boat. And not her fault. Miscommunication. I should have said, no, this is really important to me that we do go over each one of these things and it stays aligned to who I am. And that's where I talk about that brand emotion, if you've ever heard that before. Pardon me, about how's every interaction with you going to be? What emotions are people going to feel? And for me, it's that they're taken care of. I don't give superficial advice. So really make sure when you bring in those people that they understand your voice and they are the right fit. And that involves communication. So I hope this inspired you to get out and write, or to get out and create, or to get out and paint, or get out and sing, and get out and play an instrument, or whatever it is. In business, it's absolutely writing. Put your voice out more. The world needs to see more of you on your blogs, on LinkedIn, on social media, in email, in their inbox. We need to see more of you if you want to change the world with your message. So go through that 4-step process and know that that's just how it goes. That's the landscape, right? And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And still, when you've done it a million times, you're human. This is like the human process. You're going to go through this human process, and that is okay. That is exactly where you are meant to be. That is the human process. And that is exactly where you are meant to be. I'm Lisa Pezik. So thankful you were here with me today. If I can help you at all in your writing and find your voice, that's where I want you to go on my website, www.lisapezik.com. Book that 30-minute strategy call with me. I will have you speaking clearer, speaking kinder, speaking better, and telling the world all about who you are and how you can help them. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on the Lisa Pezik Show. Bye for now.